This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning. So today we'll discuss a next concept in OSB. This is widely used concept, guys. We call it as message enrichment. Okay, so message enrichment is a concept where we handle a complex logic. Let me put it in another way. In SOA, we have orchestration process, right? Most of the orchestration process, we keep it in the BPL process. Similarly, in OSB, of course, we use pipeline component. Okay, in the pipeline component, when you use more than one, more than one routing and service callout actions combination. Okay, more than one routing and service callout combinations, then that service is called that implementation is called as message enrichment. I mean, you want to, let's say, from your OSB program, you are calling first business service and calling second business service, and you are, so when you are calling first business service, you get some response, right? And when you are calling second business service, you get some another response. So in combination of multiple responses, you constructed next action, next logic, then it is a message enrichment. I mean, it's not just one service. The service has dependency on multiple partners, and what are the responses you received from partner? That responses you merged and do something else. Okay, message enrichment. I mean, you get some information from one partner, some another information from another partner, something like this. You get the all required information from different partners and merge the responses and do some other business logic. So that we called as message enrichment. So to give you this fee, to make you understand, I prepared a project for you. So what I'm going to do is, I I have two target services. I have two target services. One is get employee salary details. This is one target service. And I have another target service, get employee personal details. So in the first one, you get the employee salary details. In the second one, you get the employee personal details. So for these two these two are independent web services, guys. Okay. Two individual web services can be in any technology, including SOA, OSB, Java, .NET, anything, CRM, anything. Okay. So there are two services. One service is meant to get the employee salary details. Another service meant to get the employee personal details. So now what I want to do is, in my OSB program, I want to build an OSB program which accepts input as employee ID, input as employee ID. That's it. Only employee ID is my input. But what I'm expecting in the output or the response, I'm expecting employee personal details. Okay, employee salary details. So I'm expecting merged information. Okay, see here, input contains only employee ID. When you submit the input, you are expecting the combination of these two. Okay, this is the OSB expectation. In my OSB service, this is the input I'm expecting, this is the output I'm expecting. For this, what we need to do in your OSB service, of course, you need a OSB service which contains one proxy file, one pipeline file. Along with proxy and pipeline, we thought of communicating with two target services, right? So we need two business services as well. So I need to build a OSB program with one proxy, one pipeline, two business services. Within the pipeline, I need to write a logic how to call the get employee personal details and how to call the get employee salary details. Once you receive the response from both the services, you need to do a data transformation. You need to do a data transformation and build your OSB output. You need to build your OSB output. So there is nothing new. There is no new activity. We know all these components together. Okay. I just want to, I already prepared a service for the benefit of time. I already prepared a service for you and I will share the service details. Okay. So something like this, if you see, Get employee personal details is a SOA service. Get employee salary service is a SOA service. Let's deploy these two services into SOA server. Okay, you can deploy these two services into SOA server. And I also prepared OSB program for your for the benefit of time. So even this one, I mean, this is the one I already prepared for you. Let me demo the service in JDeveloper. Okay, so I deployed SOA jars already in my SOA server. Now I will demo this OSB service in JDeveloper. Okay, so how we can do? Go back to your JDeveloper. We know how to import a OSB file, right? OSB project. So go to service bus resources and you can import the jar. So it's on my desktop somewhere. You can keep the jar. Okay, you can browse the jar. Finish. Okay, so once you open this project, first fix the business services. Go to business service file. I have two business services here. Let me open the composite file. Okay, I shared all the resources in the shared folder, guys. You can get them from the shared folder. Now let me go to see. This is the project. This is my OSB program, which is communicating with two business services: get employee personal details, get employee salary details. Okay, first fix the business services as per the your system, I mean your local infrastructure related endpoints. So what you need to do, this is the endpoint here. If it is right, we are good. Okay, see, this is the local host 7101. This is the URL I need. But if you see, the endpoint is localhost 7001. So this is not the right one. I need to fix it. Remove the old one. Paste the new endpoint. You no need to keep the question mark visible. No need to keep the question mark visible. Just enter. Okay. Similarly, fix the second business service. So here also you need to provide the what is this service? Salary details. This is employee salary details. This is personal details. Make sure you which endpoint you are providing, otherwise your service will not work. Done. Now I fixed my two business services. Okay. Now go and check the business logic in the pipeline. Okay. Let's go to pipeline. This is a pipeline component. Observe this, guys. In my pipeline component, I already built the logic. We need to invoke two services. Remember, in one pipeline component, in a flow, you can configure only maximum one routing action. In one flow branch, you can configure maximum only one routing action. You cannot configure more than one routing action. Okay. For that reason, what I'm doing one invocation by using service callout, one invocation by using routing. It's your choice, guys. You can build a service. It's just a normal invocation, right? You are calling a business service. There is no complex logic here. A simple logic. You need to invoke a business service. That's it. Two business services we have. So what you can do, you can use two service callout actions. First service callout action is to call the first business service. Second service callout is for the second business service. It's just your choice or your requirement whether you want to go with two service callouts or one service callout and one routing action. But you cannot use two routing actions in one branch. Is that clear? It's very important. In a flow, you can use maximum one routing action. You cannot use more than one routing action. Try, if when you are doing practice, you can try that. You can rebuild this service. You don't need to depend on the jar file which I shared with you. You can rebuild it. That's a way you can do good practice. Okay. So here I'm calling service callout. When we are calling service callout will have its own variables, right? Service callout will have its own variables. See here, personal info in variable, personal info out variable. That means the response of service callout is available in personal info out variable. Okay. But in the second invocation, we are using routing action. For routing action, we don't have separate variables. We depend on body variable. routing action will use body variable as invoke input variable, body variable as invoke output variable. Okay, that means, see, observe this execution. The way of execution, if you see, the flow starts here, control goes to pipeline. In the pipeline, control goes to request pipeline branch. Okay, under this, it goes to service callout. See the way of execution. Start node from here, pipeline node, in the pipeline node, request pipeline. Under the request pipeline, control goes to service callout. In the service, in the service callout, first it will execute request action branch. Within the service callout, the first thing will be executed is request action branch, whatever logic you configured. See here, I have a transformation. Okay, so what is this transformation? You just go through the code. You can observe, see, I'm supplying the body variable. I'm supplying the body variable as input, proxy input variable to this transformation, and we got some transformation. We transform the data. The result of the transformation will be stored into personal info variable. Result of the transformation stored into personal info variable. I'm using assign action, not replace action. You know the difference, right? In the previous sessions, we discussed when to go for assign action, when to go for replace action, right? When you are executing a transformation, the result of the transformation you want to store in a new variable, then you have to go for assign action. You want to store the data in a variable where the variable already contains some information, then you go for replace action, right? So this way, you just observe service callout. Once the service callout executed, the response will be stored into personal info out variable. Done. And then routing action will be executed. Routing action uses body variable as invoke input variable and body variable as invoke output variable. That means this routing action execution completed, then the result of routing will be stored into body variable only. Okay, so now what I'm doing after this step one, pipeline request pipeline, step one, whatever logic we have, that will be executed, and then routing action will be executed, routing node, and the entire logic in the routing node executed, number two. Then control goes to response pipeline. Is it clear? Then control goes to response pipeline. In the response pipeline, we have a transformation. In this transformation, what I am doing, observe here, I have two source variables. One is the first service callout output. This is service callout output. Get employee personal info. Okay. And this is the salary details. Salary details we are calling by using routing action, which stores the result in a body variable. So I have two source variables for my transformation. Okay, let me open the transformation. I have two source variables in my transformation. Okay, and then I lost the graphic mode. Okay, see here, I have two source variables. So what I am doing, I got some fields from personal info variable, some fields from body variable. Okay, and we map the data and we consolidating the results. Two invocation results we are consolidating here. See guys, I told you right in the previous session, it is important for you. You need to read the service which is developed by others. For that reason, I am giving you this service. I just built it and sharing with you. You need to go through each component and try to understand, because it is not built by you. Of course, you can build this service. I don't want to stop you, but first try to understand. The service was built by somebody else and you need to understand, you need to do some enhancement. This is also one practice we do, right? Every time we don't build a new service in a project, every time we don't build a new service, we also enhance existing service. We also patch an existing service. So there is a running service which is already working good. We need to enhance some new logic. At that time, what you need to do? You need to read the existing service, understand what is the existing logic, and then you need to enhance the new business logic. Okay. So anyway, in this service, finally in this transformation, I'm doing message enrichment. What do you mean by message enrichment here? Response of service callout, response of routing, I'm doing a transformation and consolidating and preparing a final result of my pipeline. Is it clear? So this is the message enrichment logic I'm building in this service. Okay. Of course, you can deploy and test the service. Let me deploy this. Let me go to service bus console. See if the deployment completed. Okay, deployment finished. Now refresh your service bus console. See, we have message enrichment service. Let's test this. Either you can test pipeline and you can test for proxy. Let me test pipeline, because if you test pipeline, what happened, you can see the trace. Okay, you can give some employee ID. I just provided 101 as my employee ID. Some ID, give any number, give any number. I'm providing employee ID as input, execute. Then what happened? You got the response. See the response. Your response contains employee salary consolidated. I mean, message enrichment happened here. Employee salary details, and employee personal details both were provided in this response XML. Okay. Of course, you can come down here. You can see the trace. You can see the trace. You have different actions executed, right? See the call out, service call out, which we are calling, which we are using a service call out to call the employee personal details business service. We are using a routing action. We are using a routing action, which is calling employee salary details business service. Okay, you can see here uh, personal details info input variable. So the variables, you can see the custom variables here. These are all the service call out variables, right? You can see the data. This is the input we are sending to personal details business service. This is the response we received from personal details business service. So we got first name, last name, age. We got first name, last name, age. If you see the response, we have full name. That means first name and last name we concatenated. First name and last name we concatenated. Age we mapped here. Okay. Similarly, go to the routing action. In the routing action, if you see what you sent to the business service, you sent this as input to the business service, employee ID info. See here, this is the input of business service, input XML of business service. This is the input XML of first business service. Observe the XML. We did the transformation, right? We did the OSB input to business service input transformation. Here also we did OSB input to business service input transformation. The format of XML is different. Of course, data is same, but format of XML is different. That's what the transformation we did. Request transformations. Okay. And then you got the response. You got the response from this business service that you can see employee salary info. Employee salary info. Done. And finally, in the pipeline response flow, we have another transformation where we are doing message enrichment. We are consolidating about two results. This is the first result. This is the first business service response. This is the second business service response. And we executed a transformation to consolidate the result. Is it clear? So that's how you can do the message enrichment. Okay. Any questions as of now from anyone? First examine the service which I shared with you. Then you can build the service by your own. You don't need to you don't need to depend on this service, guys. You can build it. You know everything in this file. You know routing action. You know service call out. You know assign action. You know replace action. Everything you know. Okay, there is nothing new. Only the thing is I used all of them in a combination to achieve a requirement. So first observe this, how I configured it. Just observe the code. Okay, then you can build a service by your own. Any questions? Any questions as of now?
No, sir.
From anyone? No? Right. So it's really good practice for you guys if you read the code, understand the code, okay, and then rebuild the service. So I will share everything with you. Okay, right. This is about message enrichment. So guys, here I want to discuss one important thing, the way of execution. I took very small example here, right? One pipeline. Observe that different components. What are all the different components in our service? We have a pipeline file. We have one pipeline file. Under this pipeline file, we have pipeline node, correct? And we have, I'm just talking about nodes, okay? We have routing node. Observe, this is very important concept, okay? The way of execution, routing node. That's it. We have this much of logic in my service. Within this pipeline, we have pipeline node. We have two things. Request flow. Request pipeline. Now you can use the same keywords. Request pipeline, and then response pipeline. Okay. These are all the subcomponents of pipeline node. If you go to routing node, this contains routing action. Routing action contains, see here, routing action contains request action flow, response action flow. Request action flow, routing, response action flow, right? So three things. And if I go more elaborated, in the request pipeline, again we have a service callout. This service callout again contains three parts. Request action flow, service callout, and response action flow. Request action flow, call business service, response action flow. Okay, so this is how your service looks like, right? First pipeline node contains request pipeline, response pipeline. Your request pipeline contains some business logic. In our example, it is service callout. Your response pipeline contains some other business logic, of course, just a transformation. Okay. And then you have a routing node. Routing node contains routing action and the things. What are all the things we have? Okay. So now what I want to discuss is the way of execution. See guys, in a pipeline file, we can configure any number of parallel branches. We can configure multiple flows. Okay. In our current service, we have only one flow. If I minimize this, see, this is one flow, top to bottom, one flow. Instead of one flow, suppose if you say you used conditional branching. Okay, we saw some example, right? Conditional based logic we executed. Okay, content based routing. If I open content based routing, observe this. Here we don't have only one flow, we have different flows. Add branch is one flow, subtraction branch is one flow. This way you can build any number of branches. This is not one flow, multiple flows we have. Okay, in each flow you can configure maximum one routing action. In each flow you can configure maximum one routing action. Suppose in the current service, message enrichment service, you have only one flow, so you can configure only one routing action. Suppose if you take the example of CBR, content based routing example, here you have multiple flows, addition branch, subtraction branch. This way you can prepare multiple flows. In each branch you can configure one routing action. In each flow of your pipeline file, maximum you can configure one routing action. Service callout has no limitation like that. You can configure any number of service callouts in each branch. Any question here? Any question? Are we good? Are we good? Okay. Now let me. So now in our current service, we have only one flow. We have only one flow. So only one routing action is allowed. But you can write the remaining logic. So more than one invocation you want to do, definitely you can utilize the service callout action. Hope this point is clear for you. You can utilize the service callout action when you want to invoke more than one service in one flow. Okay. Now, in one flow, you can configure not only one pipeline node, guys, you can configure multiple pipelines as well. That means, suppose if I want to configure one more pipeline, something like this, just an example, okay, to make you understand how this pipeline and the combination works. If you see this now, let me remove this. This is not really required. So every branch will have some logic, guys, for sure. Okay. Now if you observe in my pipeline file, I have first pipeline node, I have second pipeline node, and I have routing node. One flow, the overall one flow. The way of execution, let's understand the way of execution is first pipeline node, the way of execution, request pipeline branch will be executed. Okay, let me remove everything here, whatever. You can have any logic, not only with a service callout, right? But I want to discuss about the combination of actions. Okay, suppose let's see if you have this way, the first thing executed in your OSB service, the first thing executed is the request pipeline. This is the first branch executed. Whatever logic inside this branch contain transformations, replace actions, assign action, service callout, publish action, anything. Whatever logic inside this branch that will be executed top to bottom. Is it clear? And then second thing executed. Second thing is second pipeline request pipeline. Second pipeline node request pipeline will be executed. Second pipeline node, second step. This is the second step. This is first step. Step 1. Okay, this is step 2. Always top to bottom, guys. Top to bottom. Okay, in a flow branch, the execution is always top to bottom. And then step 3 is your route node. Step 3 is your route node. Step 3 is your route node. Okay, in step 3, what will happen? In step 3, we always have routing action. Route node always contains routing action, always. Okay, pipeline node contain any business logic, not just service callout. It can contain any business logic, but routing action always contains, routing node always contains routing action. Within routing action, what will happen? It will execute step 3A. Okay. And then, within routing action, I'm talking about within routing action, step 3B, and then step 3C, sub-steps. And my intention is these are sub-steps. Routing node will execute in this order. See, step 1, this one execute top to bottom. Step 2 will execute top to bottom. Step 3, these are all the 3 sub-steps. Under step 3, these are all the 3 sub-steps. Okay. Now what is left? This response flow left and this response flow left, correct? Okay, then the response flow will be executed bottom to top, guys. Bottom to top. That means in this, the bottom, what is the bottom pipeline? Second pipeline is the bottom pipeline. Okay, so this is step 4, within this top to bottom execution. Within this top to bottom, I mean, inside branch, always top to bottom execution. Whatever you have 10 actions inside the branch. Inside the pipeline, you have 10 actions. Okay. So this is the pipeline, right? Inside the branch, if you have 10 actions, all 10 actions will be executed top to bottom. Okay, right? So the pipeline, this is the pipeline step 4, and this is the pipeline step 5. Step 5. This is how a complex what do we say, pipelines, I mean a complex pipeline file will be executed top to bottom. Is it clear? The way of execution. All request branches will be executed top to bottom. All response branches will be executed bottom to top. But the note here is within the branch, actions will be executed top to bottom. Okay, I mean, if you see this, let me drag drop a pipeline here. If I keep a pipeline here, okay, see this is step 1. This is step 1, and then this is step 2. Okay, you are clear, right? Step 1 and step 2, and then if you come down, routing action step 3, routing action step 3, and then step 4. See, step 4 is second pipeline response flow. This is step 4, and then step 5 is first pipeline response flow. This is step 5. Is it clear? The request flows executed top to bottom. First step, second step, third step. Response flow execute bottom to top. So this is bottom. But within bottom, guys, observe, within this, if you have multiple actions, okay, so that is again top to bottom. Inside this, top to bottom. Okay, inside this, top to bottom. Second routing branch will be second pipeline response branch will be executed, and then first pipeline response branch will be executed. This is the last thing to execute. Okay, any questions as of now? Any questions from anyone? No? Okay. If you are good, I'm fine. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, do one thing. Let me add one more pipeline here. Okay. If you want one more example. Nobody is speaking. You understand? You don't understand? Guys, is I'm audible?
Yes, sir. You're right.
Yes, sir.
Let's say if we have one more pipeline. Okay. If we have one more pipeline, tell me the steps. What is step 1? You tell me the row number. Okay, you tell me the row number. Step 1. Step 1. Row number 37. You should respond, guys. Tell me the row number. Okay, there are request pipeline multiple. Row number 37 is the step 1. Okay, step 2.
Response by
Step 2.
38, sir.
No. Step 2.
40.
Row number 40. Okay, step 3.
43.
43. Step 3 is 43. Okay, step 4.
46.
46, or of course 45. This is altogether is one action. Routing node and routing action altogether one action. It may have sub-steps, but altogether it is one action. Okay, step 4. Okay, now tell me step 5. Step 5.
38.
Line number 44. Line number altogether is step 4. Okay, altogether is step 4. Okay, then step 5. Step 5.
Step 5, 44.
44 is step 5. Guys, you understand the logic or not? If you don't understand, let me know. Step 4. Sorry, step 5. This is line number 44. Next, step 6.
41.
Line number 41.
And 38.
Step 6. Step 7. Line number 38. Okay, so this is how a complex pipeline, the way of execution. When you have combination of pipeline nodes and routing nodes, this is the combination. Okay, and within the node, within the branch, within any branch, either request pipeline branch, response pipeline branch, inside branch, you may have collection of actions. That inside branch is always top to bottom execution, guys. Branch level, response flow, bottom to top. Branch level, response flow. See, this is bottom to top. Step 5, step 6, step 7. Bottom to top approach, right? This one, response flow is bottom to top. Observe. Okay. But within the branch, within the request branch, within the request pipeline or response pipeline, inside pipeline, I'm talking about within the request pipeline, within the response pipeline, you may have one or more than one actions, but when you have more than one action, the list of actions always execute top to bottom inside the pipeline, either request pipeline or response pipeline. Is it clear? Okay, so that's it for today. Let me stop the recording.